Hey babies, hey babies, hey babies, hey babies, hey babies, hey babies, hey babies. Hi everyone. Hi everyone. What's up? How's it going today, everybody? I'm tired. I'm tired, everybody. Tired.
It's gonna say it's Friday before a possibly clinching playoff game. Let's see with the energy over there.
A lot of family, a lot of food, big week, big week. And we got to turn around and play Sunday night. So ask me this on Monday. I'll let you know. I'll
Okay.
be I'll be all hopped up Sunday night. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
You don't gotta worry about that one.
Okay,
But
that's fair. You're are you in my mode where like you kind of were craving a salad yesterday because it's just been so much just junk for the last couple of days because that
we
was
got a
me.
lot of family in town, so we're having all sorts of dinners.
Yep.
So that's
Yep.
just not it's not in the cards right now. But yeah, I could use one. I'm like passing out at 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, which is very, very, very unusual for me. Very unusual. So
I was done at 10 last night too. I was pretty knocked out. So yeah, I'm with you on that one.
all right, let's get hyped up, guys. Winning in, player. Winning in, player. I don't know that I expected it. I didn't think 11 was on the card this year, but it's very possible. And after watching the Falcons a lot this week, I have full confidence that it's going to go that way this weekend, with one major exception, which I'll talk about, which is the quarterback. But this has been quite a season, and I know we've taken stock of it throughout it and laughed about a lot of the crazy, unprecedented things that have been going on. But this has been by far the most memorable season I think we've had since RG3, and before that, I guess the Gibbs years, the couple years they went to the playoffs, but they didn't feel like this. This feels like dawn of a new day. That gods are looking down on us a little bit, because we've won a lot of games that could have gone really either way. Go ask the Bears about that last night. Like, we've won a lot of games that could go either way. It's been miraculous in some ways. Feels like the karma's changed, and I'm ready for what I hope is kind of a coronation of that Sunday night, because this is a team that comes in here, doesn't have the traveling road show like the Eagles or the Steelers. So I expected extremely partial Washington crowd while they still unwind all the sins of the past with the tickets and all that. Hopefully that'll change in the next coming years. And I think this is a chance to have I don't know, everything's changed party here, because it probably is the last home game. So I'm hoping everybody shows up, shows out, shows appreciation, and gets to celebrate going to the playoffs, whether it's Philly, LA, wherever it's going to be in a couple of weeks.
No, I'm with you on the feel part. I would say that the first year that Gibbs made the playoffs, that was 2005. That was the last playoff game they won, was that season. It reminds me of that season in the team chemistry. I'm with you. Like, the feel of the direction of the franchise feels completely different after this season. But I remember that team being a little similar to this one in that they had a couple of veterans, like Mark Brunell was on one side of the ball leading the offense. They didn't have much. It was Santana Moss who made the Pro Bowl that year. Defense was a lot of veterans like Cornelius Griffin and Lamar Marshall and guys that like they signed to shore up, and they did shore up that defense. Of course, Sean Taylor led the way there as well. That was where we saw really his first great season was 2005. But with you, the feel of the actual trajectory of the franchise feels different. It's not just a warm and fuzzy, oh, this team loves each other feeling like the 2005 team was, and this team is similar in that. But no, this feels like a completely different direction. And I'm with you with the home crowd. When's the last time we got to see this team clinch a playoff berth at home, not week 17 or in this case, week 18 or whatever? I can't remember it besides that Dallas game in 2012. I can't remember one unless I'm, misremembering 2016. But yeah, the fact is, you get to see this rookie quarterback, this new head coach, this new direction, and possibly clinch it at home. It just feels right for how this season has gone.
I read this one, and it's not a surprise because they just haven't been in the playoffs that often. But this will be the first time as a wild card since 2007.
Yeah.
That's very telling. Like, because not every, like, go ask the NFC North about, having great seasons and falling short just because you happen to be in a year where everybody's really good at the same time.
Yep.
we're not that team. Like, we either kind of slip into the division because it falls back to our level, or we don't make the playoffs. And I think that's what feels different about this too, that really for the first time in a while, the baseline has been set. I want to give the coaching staff a lot of credit for that, because I'm hoping that it doesn't break up. I don't know what's going to happen in the offseason, but they've clearly set a standard here, a standard they said would happen. The quarterback's off the charts, right? Like, the quarterback's off the charts. Adam Peters did do a lot what Gibbs did. Gibbs trusted veterans. He wanted veterans. He wanted people he knew, loved the game, going to come to work every day, put football first, team first, all that stuff. That's the first thing they did when they showed up here. They didn't go spend a lot of money. They went and brought in a bunch of guys that they knew, trusted, thought would be really good for a locker room and are just professional football players. And it's going to be a very different locker room next year because all of them are on one-year deals. So we're just going to have to see what ends up happening. But they've entrusted, this group, and the group has paid them back, and the chemistry is real. And I think you're going to see it on display again Sunday night. I think they are a more cohesive, more aggressive, more physical, because that's what they said their identity would be, team. And I think you're going to see that Sunday night. And if we get lucky, and the Cowboys somehow knock off the Eagles, or, then it'll be fun for a week next week to consider the collapse of Philadelphia if that were to happen. But I'm really excited about what we got coming up Sunday night, because we haven't had this in a long time, where it's winning in, and not just because the division happened to be 7-9 this year. It's because they earned it. It's great.
No, absolutely. Like, I think in my lifetime, pointing to that 05-07, those two teams, and 2012 that happened too, they were so far in a hole. And all three of those seasons, remember, they had to win 5 or 6 straight just to win the division or sneak in on the wild card. This time around, it has been much more consistent throughout the season. They had their little lull that we've talked about, and time again, whatever. But they still put themselves in such a good position that here they are at the end of the season with 2 games left, definitively with their own destiny in their hands, which is just not something that I'm even used to, let alone the first year of them drafting Jaden Daniels.
Very quickly before we move on to the Falcons, I saw the Ertz Sirianni stuff.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know anything about until yesterday, like everybody else, and saw the unearthed tape of them having an awkward exchange. And then, I can't believe he's the only one in the NFL actually now. This Big Dom character is like a main character in the NFL. I don't know why other teams don't have their own version of Big Dom. Like, let's go full wrestling. Everybody should have their handler, right? But they're the only ones that have him, and everybody knows who he is. Like, he's probably as popular in Philadelphia, as Jalen Hurts is. He's probably just as popular as anybody there. So I don't know why everybody else doesn't have handlers. There's one of the head of security with the Commanders always made. I was making fun of him last year. His name is Mike. He's been there forever. He's a great dude. And I'm like, you should be the Big Dom of Washington. Like, what do you like? Get yourself out there. Get yourself out there. Go get some chains. Get a look. Wear sunglasses if you want. Be tough, but you should do it. He was laughing. Anyway, I don't know why we don't have more of this. I did like that Ertz just basically said blown out of proportion. It probably was. Sirianni seems like the type of dude that you could, push the buttons real fast. Like, it's so obvious. And I think I think teams emulate their coaches sometimes. Dan Quinn talks about a lot of things. This team does this. They're actually very steady. Like, he's a very steady dude. Sirianni's not. Go look at the character of that team. They're not. They can get unnerved real fast. Look what happened. This is Zach Ertz, Hall of Fame tight end, okay? He's going to pass Ozzie Newsome 9th all-time for receiving yards by tight end, probably Sunday night, because he needs like 10. He had an incredible career in Philadelphia, and he's probably going to go up in their Ring of Honor, probably, right? He's one of the great players in Philadelphia history. Here's the coach and him getting into a tiff after they can't just – and Sirianni, so much so that while Ertz took the high road and said, everything's fine, it's blown out of proportion, so much so that Sirianni had to do a Zoom call with him and apologize about it.
Yep, right.
How immature is this guy? Like, seriously. You're the head coach of the team.
I mean, are you not going to give him credit for at least apologizing over Zoom? Because
yes, I will.
Because I will. Like, that does take a little bit of swallowing your pride a little bit and not just going into the it was in the moment type situation. So I'll give him a little bit of credit for apologizing. That told me too that it is water under the bridge at this point, that he must have said something really truly in the moment of like, I overstepped the boundary there. And then if you listen to, I forget which podcast did like the breakdown of what it was your guy Big Dom like ushering Sirianni into the tunnel, which also told me, okay, even he was like, all right, guy, like let's get you into the locker room. Like even I know this is overstepping a little bit. So you're right, though. The teams emulate who their head coaches are. And right now, Philadelphia and Nick Sirianni, both a little unhinged. Let's just call it that.
Yes, they're unhinged. And I think their fans know this too, which is why they're unhinged about everything they do and why they're looking for all the cracks, because they realize that it's unhinged. And it's at the point now where they can't not win the division. I mean, I guess they could, but it would take a collapse of all collapses against teams that are out of the playoffs at home to do it. And I don't expect that to happen. But once the playoffs roll around, when things get tough, you've got team all in on everything, Detroit, and team like sophomore girls that like can't get along with one another. And so like, which one of them is going to be in the Super Bowl? Got me, guys. We'll just have to see how that one plays out.
Well, it's also, I think with the Eagles, though, we've now set ourselves up here, like just as like media and fans, to say, would you be shocked if that team loses in the wild card? No. Would you be shocked if that team still makes it to the Super Bowl? Also, no. Like their boom or bust factor is because they're unhinged right now.
Yeah, and I think like Saquon's like, I think he's finally feeling it now. He's like, we're 12-3, right? He's like, right?
He's like, this is my best season ever. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah, he's like, I'm breaking records, and and like nobody, like we lost one game, like kind of flukishly, in the last 8 weeks, and you all are upset about something. Like what? Right. Like we didn't win 4 games in my last 5 years in New York, so I don't know what you guys are complaining about.
That's right.
Anyway, on Atlanta. The big issue is there's not a lot to work off of on Penix. Like he played one game, he was fine. There was actually a high level of drops by his receivers in the first game, which I don't know. I would just attribute to maybe it's coming off, a left hand, like maybe the spin of the ball, the whole thing, like at real time when it's coming, from a different direction like that, it's probably hard to adjust to. So I actually think that that's probably all that was. He was relatively accurate. He didn't take a sack, didn't throw a pick. The Giants are really bad right now, so it's so hard to really gauge it. And the score's a little deceiving because they had 2 preposterous pick sixes in the game. Like Drew Lock threw 2 preposterous pick sixes in the game. Otherwise, it would have been a ho-hum 17-7, 20-7 type of thing. And it feels impressive because they won by a lot. But if you watch it, it really wasn't. And Drew Lock is not a fit for them. Not a fit. So that's the hanging chat in all of this, is we don't really know much about this guy, honestly. Or like, yeah, he was great in college. I loved him in college the last year specifically. I went to see him on purpose because I was like, I loved him so much in college. When we went and played Seattle last year, we went to the Washington-Utah game, and I wanted to go see him because I thought at that point he was going to win the Heisman the way he was going. And his accuracy was kind of there in the first go. He looked like a rookie at times, but it's like impossible to judge this. So I don't think there's a lot of tape to work off of this. And that's the only thing that really kind of stands out to me that actually gives me any kind of genuine concern is another week, another chance, not a lot of look at him. What do they have a few wrinkles that we're not going to have seen coming? I think that's possible this weekend.
No, I mean, that's to me was always the number one concern, was that it was actually not about the first start here. It was about, do they get him in earlier? Because with a little bit of seasoning, we've seen it. We saw it live with Jaden over the first couple of weeks, was the adjustments happen if these guys actually are going to be NFL quarterbacks, and the speed is going to be a little bit better for him this week. I'm sure he's going to make some better reads. I'm sure now, like you just mentioned, his wide receivers are going to be used to catching the ball a little bit more here. That was always the concern. Was if it was start one, I wasn't really that concerned. But if it was at least one under his belt, a little, the concern level goes up just a little bit, not a crazy amount. What I will say is this too, though, is like the Commanders have been in this position all year. They've had big games. They've lost a lot of those big games. But of course, last week they beat the Eagles. I feel like this is a game where they know they have to win, but the pressure cooker isn't going to be under them. I think it's the opposite with the Falcons. I think the Falcons are, they need to make every single play on every single drive for them to just have a chance to get in. We know how this goes. Like when you're in the pressure cooker like that, bad moments happen here and there.
They're the ones that have to win.
Yep.
Really, all the pressure's on them, and I actually think we're going to have a rabid stadium Sunday night.
Yeah.
So, we'll see. Here's the other thing about them. They move the ball really well. They can't score. And this is on both sides of the ball, oddly, actually. Like, their red zone offense and defense is bad. Like, the red zone efficiency, stopping anybody in the red zone, and I'm not surprised because I don't really think they're particularly stout up front. To get pressure, they kind of need to bring people. They have this one guy, this inside linebacker, Caden Ellis, who I think is pretty good. It's going to have to be accounted for. But they don't get a lot of pressure on their own up front. Guys like Matthew Judon aren't really making a lot of waves this year. They're decent on the back end. AJ Terrell's pretty good. Jesse Bates having a very good year. A lot of turnovers this year. But that's about it. And their red zone defense is not very good at stopping people. And I don't really even understand the red zone offense. Their bottom third red zone offense, their top 10 offense moving the ball. So they can move the ball. Not a surprise. Bijan Robinson's amazing. He is behind Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley, probably best running back in the NFL, third best running back in the NFL. He's got the numbers to prove it too. They get in the red zone though, and they can't score. So if that continues, we're going to win, obviously. It's hard to believe they can't score. They don't just have one good running back. They got two. Algiers a very good backup running back. Their offensive line's really good. Now they have a quarterback that can move a little bit, so maybe it'll change. They got a big target in London, and Pitts is, I don't even understand it. I actually don't think I've ever seen anything like this one. He looks the part, feels the part, and we're too many years into his career. And maybe I'll be eating my words if he has his breakout game. But you know what? It'll be the first in 4 years if he pulls it off now. When they picked that dude, he was like, he's going to change the tight end position. And he's like a non-factor for them. But if you put that group as a whole and you go, they're bad at scoring, I don't even know why. That must be on the scheme and the coaching. Because how could they have Bijan Robinson, Algier, Pitts, Drake London, Mooney? They have no excuses for targets, weapons, or bad matchups for the other team, but they don't score very much. So I don't know what's up with them.
Yeah, I knew Kirk Cousins was bad before he got benched, but even I was like, how is he this bad? Not just throwing it up to a couple of these dudes and with a good run game. And then I saw how bad Kirk was. But still, I was kind of saying, if this skill position group doesn't pick up Penix, this is on them, really. They are a talented group, yet have never been able to really put it together. And I don't understand why. And maybe that's your sign to start breaking it up a little bit. And if you can move some parts for some draft picks or something like that, maybe that's what you start to explore.
I mean, I don't know, but it reads to me a lot like it's got to be the scheme. All of a sudden Kirk isn't good at football anymore. That doesn't make any sense to me. That just doesn't. They don't have receivers. Yeah, they do. They have good receivers. They don't have a tight end. Yeah, they do. They have the third best in a year or two, the best running back in the NFL on their team. They have a really good offensive line. They've used 3 first-round picks, offensive linemen, and a second-round pick on another. There's no reason why their offense shouldn't be really good.
For Kirk though, it has been a little mobility too though. The Achilles is not back to what it was. He was not moving the same either. So I will interject on that one.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't feel like he forgot how to play in 1 year. And I think that there's too many good high level weapons on that team that I just don't understand it. So whatever, that's your problem. We'll find out this weekend. A couple things to note. Terry can set franchise marks this weekend. If he gets one more touchdown, no Washington receivers ever had more than 12 touchdown catches in a season. So he can do that this or next weekend. I'm hoping they do that at home. So I hope they target him. I'm going to put that bug in Quinn's ear that probably does. They're very cognizant about all this stuff. They play like they aren't, but then I'll see locker room clips and they talk about these things. So they obviously are aware of all of them, but just so everyone knows that can happen this weekend. And there's nobody more deserving than him to get it. And I'd like to see it happen in front of the home crowd. That'd be really cool. So
to this point too, I think I said this, last Monday, they need to get him the ball early to get that place going crazy. It's the one thing on offense that they can do that gets that crowd going feral, essentially. That when Terry starts getting the ball, that place just goes nuts. So I hope they know that as well.
And then I think we're going to see this weekend. Revenge of the Washington run game. So there's the other thing about this staff that I have found very interesting. You know, you'll hear staffs like message during the week, and very rarely with this particular one are they off on what they say they're going to deliver on. They may lose or it may not go the way they wanted, but when they emphasize something, I have found it happens the following week. Dan Quinn and both Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn both mentioned the same thing about the run game because it hasn't been going particularly well the last few weeks. And they both said the same thing. They said, what we're seeing is the line is thinking too much. They're not just going. There's a little paralysis by overanalysis. And we've told them, okay, if you're going to make a mistake, do it at full speed. And then Quinn said, he goes, the problem with it is the aggressiveness, which he's saying the same thing. Quinn just kind of breaks it down to, am I going to hit somebody in the face really hard? Because that's what I want to see people do is hit people in the face really hard. So this is why I'm very confident this weekend. B-Rob needs a makeup game from last week. The run game's the identity of the team, really. They can win if they have to with Jaden throwing the ball the way, if it goes a certain way. They've proven now they can win that way if they have to do it. It's not really what they want to do. And I have a feeling we're getting revenge of the run game because aforementioned, I don't love the front of Atlanta. I think there's an advantage here. And I got a feeling this is one of those 150 to 200 yard rush days combined with Jaden, B-Rob, McNichols, who actually ran the ball very hard last week. I have a feeling we're getting revenge of the run game and we get one of those 3 touchdown on the ground games this weekend.
I mean, that wouldn't surprise me. That's like kind of the norm for this offense. When they don't rush for 100 yards, it's actually weirder when they don't, when they do. So I'm not going to be surprised if they do run the ball here well. And once again, what wins them most of their games this season has been complementary football. So it's go up by a couple scores, start running the ball, force Penix in that Atlanta offense to start moving the ball by passing. And you're going to hopefully, have the avalanche start where they can't touch you again. You keep going up by a couple scores here and there, and complementary football wins out because those have been their best games this season.
Yes. Very quickly, because I'll get to the rest of the slate in a minute. Seriously, what is wrong with Chicago? What is wrong with you guys? This is the second time now.
It's the best.
This is the second time now that they have botched time management in an almost unthinkable way to lose. The first one was the Detroit game, which made no sense what they were doing. And then last night, they got the ball back with 5 minutes left. Okay. And they couldn't figure out whether they wanted to punt with 2:15 or whatever it was, chose not to. And then from that point forward, there was at one point where they ran 43 seconds off of the clock without doing anything. And then in the end, when you don't get a field goal off to tie the game, none of it makes any sense. So seriously, guys, what is wrong with you? We've all been around long enough to know that clock issues are part of the baked in part of the game, but you guys have taken this to a new level this year. I don't even understand what's going on. If there's some kind of remedial football time management class you all need to take in the offseason, you need to do it because y'all are a laughing stock. It's not that you're losing. It's the way you're losing. It starts with your idiot corner waving at our fans before a Hail Mary to now 2 games where you guys ran the end of the clock in the Detroit game, which doesn't even doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And then this one last night, again, not that it matters, but what is wrong with you dudes?
I mean, it does matter that you only put up 3 points against that defense. I'm not saying the Seahawks are terrible, but they're not anything to write home about. You're at home, and what have we said all year long? They have too many weapons to not be scoring on offense. What gives? I don't understand overall what's happening. You're talking about the whole end of game thing. I'm saying, How did they only have 3 points on the board? Like, what's going on?
These guys, they're acting like, you ever sit there and watch a game with someone who doesn't really watch football very often, and then they're like, you have to explain why you need to go fast at this point, or why you would use a timeout, or why you would, like, I feel like I need to tell them this. Like, they've never played before.
Right.
Like, they don't know what they're doing.
I mean, it screams a team that doesn't practice that, right? Like, bare minimum. Like, right?
Just
like,
the oldest franchise in the NFL, but whatever. Like, never done it before.
I will say this too, though, and it's like equal parts impressive, but also I'm a little disappointed in their fan base. That joint was sold out last night, and I'm kind of like, guys, you need to show this franchise that, like, you're not going to put up with this. And it's the Seahawks on a Thursday night, the day after Christmas. Like, if there was a game to just be like, don't go, that would have been the one. But
or pull the walk out.
Right. Yeah. Or like do something. But like, I was like, normal crowd in Chicago. Do you guys not feel any venom towards this version of your team? Because I know I would, but whatever. Not my franchise, not my problem anymore when it comes down to it.
Let's see. I heard 2 things from Caleb last night. One, he said he got hit in the throat on the one play they made down the field late in the game. And he basically said, this is one of the reasons why it took a while to get one of the plays off, because I got hit in the throat and the coaches didn't see that I got hit in the throat, which is ridiculous. And then he said this one, and this is never going to fly, because they got booed, like deserved. They've lost 10 games in a row. It's absurd. And they lost at home to Seattle 6-3. You deserve to get booed. And his answer to that was, the problems here precede me. And that's why they were booing.
Can't do that, Caleb. Like, we've lived this here. You can't do that. You can't say it like that either.
No.
You need to just kind of give the nonchalant, we didn't play well, we deserved it. Like, you just need to swallow your words on that one. There's no other way around.
3 points at home in our home finale. We've lost 10 games in a row. I'd boo too. Yes,
exactly. Because, insert person here that has said it here in Washington.
Yeah.
Right. I forget. I think it was like DJ Swearinger or someone said it way back, a couple years ago, where he was like, oh, it's not on us. I don't know why they're booing. It's like, no, we're not exactly booing you personally. It's the whole entire thing.
It's the whole thing.
Don't take it personally, but also don't speak out about it, because you have no idea what the people here have been through.
Yeah, we're not really booing you. We're booing the whole thing.
Yes, right. Exactly. So don't take it personally.
See y'all next year. Anyway, be right back. Bram Watch the Show, ESPN 630 Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. Let's go through the rest of the Week 17 slate. Chargers will roll into the postseason. They will beat New England across the country, because that's what Harbs does. He's a winner. So we got the Harbaugh boys back in the playoffs together again. I don't know. Can they play each other? I suppose they could, right?
Yeah,
they could. It's unlikely, right? But they could.
I mean, the Ravens are the 3 seed behind?
Actually, no, I think they will, right? Because if Pittsburgh wins next week, they'd be the 5 and would play Houston, which means
that's right.
Harbaugh brothers in the playoffs. How about that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Could happen for sure.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody. If the NFC North teams didn't have the records they did, I think Jim Harbaugh might get coach of the year. I mean, the fact that they're going to be in the playoffs in year 1, go look at the roster. You're not going to sit there and go, that was a playoff team to start the season. So they've done a very good job. And New England, I know they're sticking with Gerard Mayo, and they for a team that was a dynasty to be flipping around coaches every other year, that would be odd. It'd be an odd thing to do, but we'll keep an eye on that one, because that didn't go well year 1 at all.
No, it didn't go well, and the defense fell apart too. They did have, that to hang their hat on for like the first month or 2 of the season, and then that ended up falling apart. I will say this though, Drake May showed some flashes. I don't know if you've seen some of the highlights that he's had over the last month or 2. He's actually looked pretty solid. So I'm sure they're going to give him year 2. And then if Drake May keeps getting better, there's no shot he sticks around if they don't improve record-wise next season.
From the everybody has to say something different from everybody else, because everyone's run out of original thought. A friend of mine, sent me some ESPN piece that had a blurb saying Drake May had the best season of any rookie quarterback this year. And I just wrote back, that's moronic,
Right.
give me a break. Like,
stop it.
Just
like,
stop. Just this guy's breaking records. Just stop. Like, wait, what does he have to do?
If it's not Jaden, if it's not Jaden, by the way, it's Bo Nix. So you're saying he's had a better season than both of them? I'm going with no. I'm going with no.
Right. What might end up being one of the games of the day, Cincinnati gets Denver. If Cincinnati wins, Denver will have to win Week 18 against Kansas City. Kansas City can then choose their own adventure for the playoffs. They're going to get a bye. If they beat Denver, someone can leapfrog them. If Denver beats them, Denver gets in the playoffs anyway. So I believe this is going to happen. Cincinnati by 1 million, actually, this weekend. Burrow lights them up. And then we'll see in Week 18. And it is nice to see life back into them. That's a can't quit mentality. Him and Chase, the whole year, they were in a hole. And those two are going to end up like leading the league as receiver and quarterback. And if it wasn't for their record, Burrow would be up for MVP this year.
No, I mean, well, the thing is, Burrow's still being talked about, in these MVP conversations, even through all of this losing, which he should at least get, once again, kind of how we were saying with Jaden. He should get a slice of the conversation. He's not going to win it, but he should at least be tossed in there. I just love that the Bengals now all of a sudden are the team nobody wants to deal with. Like,
you don't play them.
It's just so funny how that franchise is that, though, and like, no one wants Joe Burrow as a 7 seed because they know that dude's about to light you up. I just love that everyone's scared of him. Like that's the ultimate sign of respect when it comes down to it, is that no one wants a piece of you in the playoffs.
Trust me, Buffalo wants to play Denver at home.
Yeah,
they don't want to play him. They could lose to him. They know that. They don't want to play him.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. The Rams have to keep winning now in Arizona because Chicago threw up on themselves last night and could not beat the Seahawks. So the Rams have to keep winning. And I obviously want them to, because there is a not unreasonable path where Washington plays the Rams in the first round of the playoffs. And I'd like that trip. And I also think we would take over SoFi. Like, it'd be 50-50 burgundy and gold. So that would be really fun. It'd be very nice to have warm weather in the middle of January. So go Rams, go.
No, I'm with you. I think we went through this the other day. Like, 3 of the possible opponents, I see this Washington fan base taking over. So yeah, they're one of the ones that, sure, I'll play them. I don't know how much I want to play McVay in the playoffs, but I'll take it for the stadium because I know we'll take over. So,
well, it's that or go to Philadelphia. I mean, these are the options at this point.
Right. There's still a possibility of Seattle.
Not that I'm worried about going up there. Like, I actually think they don't want to play us, honestly, after what happened last week. I just don't think that that's a fun place to go in the middle of January, especially with unhinged people. So I just, we go to LA, I could get a nice coffee, maybe go see the beach. The stadium's going to be very pleasant. It's going to be all our fans there. It's going to be fun. It's going to be really fun. And I don't know. I feel like we deserve a fun playoff game.
That's fair. I'll give you that.
Let's see what else we got this weekend. Netflix star and his teammates face Super Bowl contender. So we're running out of time in the Aaron Rodgers Jets legacy. He gets to take on the Bills.
Legacy.
Do the Bills have to win? I don't know. Do they? Because they're locked. Are they locked as the 2 yet? Or we need to win one more to lock the 2?
Not sure, to be completely honest. I'm sure they still can show up and beat the Jets with their backups. I mean, let's be real here. Like,
I feel like McDermott wants to win to send a message anyway. He's one of those guys.
Yeah. Yep. For
sure. And they'll probably sit everybody week 18 because they'll have nothing to play for at that point.
Yeah.
Where's Rodgers going to be next year? Tennessee, I think.
I told you Tennessee. I think you don't rule out Indianapolis. I don't think you rule out the Florida teams. There's some spots for him, but it depends. Also, would he be willing to be a backup somewhere too? Because I think he would take on that role somewhere if he's ready.
Has there ever been something this big of it that was made this big a deal of that ended this badly in the NFL?
Ooh,
like got hurt year 1, comes back, and it's somehow worse because he plays the whole year and they stink. And their best player, Garrett Wilson, wants to leave now.
Yeah, I was gonna say made this big of a deal. I don't think so, because like you could throw veterans out there, like when McNabb was traded here, that was a disaster, but it was also tail end of his career, not
It
like
wasn't this big of it. No one was
right.
like, he's going to change everything.
Right.
No. Yeah.
You could say his counterpart in Brett Favre in New York, but
Oh, yeah.
Favre had them competitive. So, I mean,
yeah, that went really poorly, but then he went to Minnesota and he was good.
right. So, like, I think that there's a difference there. I'm just trying to think of like moved quarterbacks that ended up not working. I mean, Russ, you can say Russ. Russ was a disaster. And they
that
gave
was
him
a huge trade.
Gave him a contract. Yeah, gave him, Deshaun. I mean, Deshaun, that's bad. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I'd say, I don't know. Aaron might not be the worst one out of those three, mainly because of longevity. They gave those other two guys long contracts and had to cut them. So I don't know. He's not the worst one, not the worst trade in the league.
Here's your red zone specials. Vegas, New Orleans, Colts, Giants. Vegas, New Orleans, Colts, Giants will be watching each other for that number one pick. They'll be watching that one real close. Yep, right. Titans, Jags, Miami, Cleveland. Sorry, Wunderkind. Not the same year anymore.
Nope.
Let's see. This could happen early in the day. If the Panthers knock off Tampa Bay, we're in the playoffs. So we just need any combination of a win or a Tampa loss along the way, and we're locked into, at bare minimum, the wild card. And if you've watched the Panthers over the last month, it's a very different team. Over the last like 4 or 5 weeks, they've been close in every game. They won last week. They almost beat Tampa a few weeks ago, went to overtime with them. Tampa scored late. Otherwise, we'd already be in the playoffs if that one went that way. Apparently, Bryce Young's new nickname is Carolina Reaper. I don't know if you've heard that.
Okay, I love that.
He's got a nickname now. I'm actually happy for this dude that he's like kind of come back and looks like a viable NFL quarterback all of a sudden. And Tampa got beat up pretty bad in Dallas. The spread's like 7.5, right? It's something like that. Tampa's a pretty heavy favorite here, but, you know, I won't be surprised just because of the way Carolina's played. They almost beat the Eagles a couple weeks ago. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they actually knocked them off.
I mean, their game against each other a month ago went into overtime and was a really close game. And they just made some stupid mistakes. Remember they fumbled? I'm pretty sure they fumbled in overtime to give Tampa that win. So, yeah, I'm not going to be surprised here at all if the Panthers keep it close and somehow win. Tampa hasn't been great at home this year either. So, I don't know. This is kind of a mesh of things. I'm not going to be surprised if this is close at all.
Let's see. Well, here's what we need to know. Is Jalen Hurts playing against Dallas? Because CeeDee Lamb's not now, which he's not going to play against us either. But this is a big deal. Like, Dallas is playing hard, and that's what's important here. They're playing really hard. They've won like 4 or 5. Mike is playing hard. Their defense is playing hard. If Jalen doesn't play, you know what? I've been meaning to mention this for a couple of days. I forgot about this. Of all of the excuses that the Eagles people have been making all week for what happened last week, they're acting like Kenny Pickett sucks. Like, have you noticed that part of it?
Yeah.
That they're like, and the whole time I'm sitting there going, this guy was a first-round pick 3 years ago. Like, he doesn't suck, and actually didn't play that poorly the other day. He had one bad pick, but he didn't play that poorly the other day. He wasn't their problem. Devontae Smith catches that pass. Saquon catches that pass. He made a number of plays on third downs to extend drives. They had the ball for 10 minutes in the third quarter. Like, he was not their problem. But my favorite part of this is of their complaining is they're like passing it off like, well, Jalen didn't play, as if Kenny Pickett totally sucks.
Well, it was also that it wasn't a factor, or that it was a way bigger factor than you're realizing. Like, your defense, like Jalen doesn't play defense to give up 22 points in the fourth quarter. Jalen or Pickett didn't drop those passes to ice the game. Yeah, I get it. It's a problem, and it probably would have been some kind of difference maker, but the whole flow of the game was not because your quarterback was not. No, it was so it was just a really bad
the score of the game was 7-0 when he got hurt.
That's right. Right,
so
exactly.
He had them score 26.
Right.
Like, what's your problem?
Yep.
Like,
no,
what are you talking about?
I'm with you.
And but I do think this is because they're saying they want this Tanner McGee guy to play because they think Pickett sucks now. If I was Pickett, I would be like, did you all watch the game?
Right.
So I think it's a big deal. Obviously, I don't think we're going to win the division because I can't envision Philadelphia losing to New York if push comes to shove, but it could be a real weird week, and I think it'd be really funny if Dallas knocks them off. And if Jalen doesn't play, I believe it might happen. So let's see.
With no CD Lamb, I just don't think there's enough there now. Like Cooper Rush has at least been able to toss passes up to that guy. Like
That's true.
He had a great game last week and against Tampa, where I was thinking this is exactly what you should do. Just get the ball into these guys' hands. It's probably not enough now at this point. Like, I mean, it's a real pipe dream. We've seen crazier things happen with divisional games, but this is one where I've kind of just chalked it up. It's probably not going to happen.
Yes, it's not going to happen, which means the most important one to watch is this. Minnesota is taking on Green Bay. Minnesota can still get the 1 seed. They're playing Detroit in week 18 if they both win this weekend, and Detroit is playing San Francisco Monday night, and I would assume they're going to win because San Francisco is just missing too many people at this point. They will face each other in a total literal winner takes all, and something the competition committee needs to look at. Like, one of these teams could have 14 wins and be a wild card. Like, that's ridiculous. Okay. That's absurd. I firmly believe that, like, if you win your division, you get in, but they should reseed by record at that point. And it doesn't guarantee you a home game. Like, either Detroit or Minnesota is going to go to Atlanta. That's absurd. Like, that's going to happen is really crazy. That they're going to have 5 to 6 more wins than that team and play on the road. That's really ridiculous if that's going to happen, but that's where we're going. We're big Minnesota fans here, I think, this weekend, because if Washington wins out and Minnesota wins this weekend, we play we're the 6th seed, and I would prefer that. I think it's just a better road. I'd rather have that. So I'm rooting. Go Skull, Skull,
go KOC is what you're saying right now. Yeah. No, I'm with you on this one too, especially when it comes to the reseeding thing. You know, I was even a kind of a part of that crowd when the then Washington football team snuck in at 7-9, and they got a home game against Tom Brady and the Bucs.
It's ridiculous.
Like it's
we should have been playing in Tampa. They had a better record than us. We qualify. We won our division, but you don't get the home game out of it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And like it's not going to be every year that this happens, right? Like most years, it will probably play out that the 1 through 4 seeds will be the division winners. But we're now entering a weird realm in the NFL where, especially that division in the North, a 14-win team should not be traveling on the road.
Well, it's going to happen in the AFC too, because the wild card team who plays Houston is going to have a better record than them.
Yep, right.
So it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take a quick break. Brave Watch the Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. I'll be at the Military Bowl tomorrow night out in Annapolis at Navy's Stadium. East Carolina, NC State. Playa night game. Playa. So I'll be out there if you want to say hello. I'll be on the sideline with them. So I just wanted to give them a little bit of a shout out. Here's a question for you. I don't think this is the case, but considering his son is going to be drafted, according to him, number 1 in the NFL, and his other great player, the Heisman Trophy winner, is probably going to go in the top 5-10 if people can get over whatever issues are going on with the guy's girlfriend. Is this Deion's last dance there? Do you think he follows them to the NFL? I don't know. Maybe. I think that there's a 20-25% chance that will happen, actually.
I'd give it a higher chance that he gets hired somewhere else in college football than going to the NFL. I would say that.
I wonder if I wonder in his heart of hearts, does he want to coach in the NFL? I don't know.
Yeah, see, that I don't know. I think maybe the right scenario, he would coach in the NFL, but he's going to pick and choose because he can coach at Colorado forever and then go wherever he wants to go if the right, situation pops up for him. I'll give you that. It's a non-zero. Like, it's non-zero that he isn't at Colorado after this season, but it's just where, because I think we could see him and go somewhere else in college.
So this bowl game, he's playing BYU this weekend. So that could be, I feel like there's a 30 to 50% chance, like, this is it, that he goes somewhere else. And I wonder if it's the NFL. Does he really want to go with his son? Is that a package deal? No one really knows the answer to anything like that. So we'll have to find out. All right. And then this weekend, Cap's got 2 of them tomorrow in Toronto and then Detroit on Sunday. Good job, NHL. 5:00 puck drop for Caps and Detroit. I guess they're a touch lucky that we're playing at 8:20 now, but they didn't know that at the time when they scheduled this. And it's just in the middle of the Hansen hour. So I don't know what you all are thinking putting games up against that, but here we are.
Not only that, I'm usually forgiving depending on the market because, like, hey, if you're playing, let's say we reversed it, you're playing Toronto at 5:00. It's Toronto. What are they doing? at Detroit. Guys, the Lions are good now. Why are you putting a game in Detroit at 5:00 where the Lions are actually good these days? So, and NHL, I don't know what you're doing with these Sunday games, and you're not even doing it market wise. Anyways, to get to the Caps, Alex Ovechkin should be playing tomorrow. All signs point to him coming back. It's just something we haven't talked about all week, but he was pretty much ready to go. I thought right before the break on on Sunday and Monday. It sounded like they just wanted to wait to give him a few more days and get him through that break. Sounds like he's going to go tomorrow, which would give him, both games on the back-to-back. So we'll see. He loves playing in Canada. He loves playing against the Maple Leafs. So let's see what happens tomorrow against the Maple Leafs. This looks like a road trip that the Caps should win at least one of two. If they don't beat the Leafs, they should beat Detroit, who just fired their head coach, by the way. So you should be able to beat Detroit on Sunday. Hopefully, if you win tomorrow, then you're setting yourself up for a little bit of success.
All right. Sounds good. Everybody have a good weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday. Bram, watch the show. ESPN 630 Sports Capital.